Hey everyone, I'm back to do another video. I wanted to kind of stick with the same theme of thrillery, horror, intense type shows. And the first one that came to my mind was the new kind of MTV Scream, which I love. I think it's fantastic. Um, and most people weren't interested in watching it because they'd seen the movies and they either hated them or loved them, and that was their reasoning for not watching the show, which I understand. I get that. I love the movies. I thought the movies were fantastic. I mean, they're for the most part ridiculous, but I love them. And so, because of that, I was 100% down to watch the show. And luckily, when I found out about the show and first started watching the show, the whole first season was already out and done. So I, once again, binge watched that, watched all 10 episodes of the first season in a day, and absolutely loved it. I thought it was fantastic. And it was complete thriller. You're always on the edge of your seat with this too. You kind of like go each episode and you change your mind on who you think the killer is throughout the entire season. And you're never quite sure who it is until it's revealed, and then it's like this big reveal, and it was great. So kind of like the point of the show is it's kind of this, it's similar to the movies where there's this town, Lakewood, and there's like a murderer from the past, like 20 some odd years ago. A teenager went crazy and killed all of his classmates. And that's kind of like the basic, what everybody's heard version of the story. And so it kind of starts off letting you know that kind of thing. The very first scene, though, is a girl that we obviously don't know, but her name's Nina, and it's her and this guy that she's with, and she's back at home. She's kind of like the bitchy girl, and it's super obvious the minute she's on screen. And it goes from that to her out in the hot tub and blah blah blah. Long story short, she gets killed straight off in the beginning. It's pretty much the opening of murderer. There's a murderer here. Death is coming. And the main character is Emma Duvall. She's a great character. I love her. She has a lot of layers to her. She's really smart. She's like fast on her feet, even though it doesn't always seem like it, because she goes all these seasons not knowing who the killer is, and all of her friends keep getting killed, and it's pretty obvious early on that her and her family are like the focus of the murders, because it's all her friends that are getting killed. And so like it's pretty much the basic story with her. She has a boyfriend, she has her like 3 or 4 best friends, and all that. And then of course there's this new guy that comes to town, Kieran, and he's beautiful. Love him. One of my favorite characters. And of course over time they get closer and, start to date and all that, and that's great. And there's also a new character to town. There's a new person that comes to town, and her name's Piper, and she's a reporter, reporter type person. And so like from the very beginning, like when we first started meeting all these characters, it's by like episode 2 or 3, I made a prediction that the killer was either going to be Piper or Kieran, because they were the 2 new people to town. It was super obvious to me that it was going to be one of them, because that just makes sense. And spoilers to anybody that hasn't actually seen the show, this whole video is going to be like details, for the most part, details of what happens throughout the first 2 seasons. So I'm going to say who the killer is. And when we found out at the end of season 1 that Piper was the killer and that she was Emma's half-sister and like all those details, it was crazy. I was like, well, I was half right, because I guessed it was either her or Kieran. And so that was fantastic. And I liked the way they handled it. I liked the story. It made perfect sense why she was crazy. And The acting was really good when she went from, normal, nerdy chick to psycho killer. But it never, like, at the end of the season, it made sense that it was her, but it also didn't make sense that it was only her, because there were too many things that happened throughout the first season that there's no way that it was just her. And so somehow you kind of were like, she had to have had an accomplice. There had to be someone else that was involved. And of course there was. So then season 2 happens, and Emma's trying to deal with everything that happened in season 1. And I really like that about the show too, is that it doesn't just like jump over everything that happens. Like, it doesn't make it seem, oh, it's no big deal, somebody just came and killed all of your friends, let's move on and go to school the next day. She takes time off and like goes to therapy and really tries to like understand what's going on and get to the root of her anxiety, depression, everything that she's feeling because of all of this, which is very realistic to me, and I liked that. And so she comes back and tries to be the new version of herself, where there isn't a killer and they can go back to normal. And of course that's never gonna be what happens, because this is Scream. So season 2, new killer, super fun. People start dying again, and there's a few new characters, which is awesome. One of my favorite new characters is Stavo. I love him, and I love him with Brooke. I do like Brooke with Jake. Ugh. And spoiler, I oh my god, I hated it so much, and I was so upset when they killed Jake. I was not ready. I did not want it to happen. I liked him with Brooke, and they had been together like this long, and then nope, he's dead. Well, okay. Rude. Like her with Stavo, though. Stavo, his dad, the new sheriff, love their characters. Stavo is really sketchy in the beginning. You think that he might be the killer because he likes to draw very well, I might add, very well, details of all the murders and stuff, so everyone thinks that it's him. I'm saying no, he just likes to draw. He's a good new character. And then Eli is one of the other new characters, and he is Kieran's cousin. And he's cute too. He's a bit sketchy, but Kieran was kind of weird in the beginning too. So it's kind of like, that's cool, he's the new weird kid, and he like tries to like steer Emma away from Kieran and make her see that Kieran's the bad guy. And then of course Kieran's like, no, Eli's crazy, blah blah blah. And so you don't really know who to believe, and that's just kind of how that is. And then at the end of season 2, a few things happen after pretty much everybody's died. A few things happen, and they're like, Audrey and Emma are like at the end, and they're like so close to figuring out who the killer is, and then of course you find out that this killer is Kieran. And it was a great reveal again, because like I said in the beginning when I first started, I said it was going to be Piper or Kieran. Turns out it was both of them. I was right. I was very excited about that. But okay, so my favorite part of that scene when they find out that it's Kieran is the acting, because he says something that was just like the way the killer said it to Emma, so she like slowly figures out that it's him, and like she's like looking at him, figuring out that he's the killer, and his face goes from caring, oh this is so intense, Kieran, to no expression, murder Kieran. And it was done so well and terrifying, like the way that a sociopath can just erase all feeling because they don't have feelings. And it was done so well, and I loved that. I was kind of sad that it was him, because I love him, and now he's not on the show. I really liked the way season 2 ended. He went to prison, Emma did not kill him, it was great. And then the 2-hour Halloween special happened, and in the first 3 minutes, Kieran gets killed. No, I was not happy about this. I was like, I love him, I don't care that he's a psycho killer. He could have been in prison for a while. You didn't need to kill his character. It was just not necessary. The 2-hour Halloween special was not bad, but it wasn't great. I liked it, but it's nowhere near as good as the actual show. in the Halloween special, they go to, well, unintentionally, they don't know that they're going to a murder island, but they are. It's just kind of like another murder mystery type 2-hour thing. And it's slightly predictable. You pretty much figure out who the killer is in that pretty quick as well. But it was still fun to watch, and it was fun to catch up with the characters again. So I liked it. I was cool with it. Random going back to characters in the first season. I love Noah. He's one of my favorite characters. I love that he is obsessed with psychopaths, serial killers, sociopaths, and murderers. All of it. I love that. I love that that's like his main thing. He's a nerd, but he's obsessed with serial killers. And so like he knows all the details about all of them and knows everything about Brandon James, who is the original murderer, or so we're supposed to think, in the beginning of the show. And that's one of my favorite parts of him. He's really geeky, but he's cute, and he's a genius about all that stuff, and he makes podcasts and all that stuff, and that's really fun to watch. And then Audrey, his best friend, I love her. She goes like back and forth between being straight, bi, lesbian. You never know really where she's sitting. But I love her. She's one of my favorite actresses. She was in the CW's Arrow, and I love her. She's a great character. She's a total badass. Like, you never know if she's gonna be like in a scene with Noah or in a scene with Emma, and she's always really like tight with her best friends, and she's always there for them, and she's really protective, and I love that. Brooke is one of my favorite characters. Like, some people might think that she's obnoxious, but I think she's fantastic. I love that she's sleeping with her teacher. That's one of my favorite aspects of the beginning of the show with her. I'm just like, that makes perfect sense, because like she's a rich girl who is annoyed with high school boys, so she's sleeping with her teacher. And I was like, that's so perfect. And then Will is Emma's boyfriend in the beginning of the show. He's super cute. He's super sketchy too. In the beginning, you're not sure if it's him, because it totally could be, because him and Jake are super sketchy with the blackmail and all the stuff that they're doing. And then the characters as a whole, I guess. I like the friendships. Oh god, Riley. Riley's great too. I love her too. I like her and Noah together. And then she dies. Everybody that Noah gets together with dies. That's just what happens. So, don't ever expect anyone that Noah is with to survive very long. Also, don't get overly attached to any of these characters, because you don't know. You don't know when they're gonna die. It's not as severe as Game of Thrones or Walking Dead, but you still never know when they're gonna die. People just get picked off pretty quickly. I would say the safe bet is that Emma's not gonna die, but everybody else is fair game. So don't just assume that anybody is just, oh, well, they're not gonna die. They might. Don't ever assume these things. It's not safe. And it's heartbreaking. It was awful when certain characters died and you weren't expecting it, or you weren't ready for it. And you were just like, oh, this is just a fun MTV show. It's not going to do that. It did it. It did that. It did it a few times. Not cool. But it does go there, and I really like that. Like, at one point, somebody gets a hand cut off. That's cool. And then another person gets set on fire in a house. That's also cool. A lot of things happen. A lot of people die in a really gross ways. Don't just expect it to be like camera off and then they die. No, sometimes you see it and it's gross, but it's not like too gross. So don't not watch it because of that. Definitely go watch it. MTV Scream. So good. It is on Netflix. All of the seasons are on Netflix. They're also on MTV, but it's fantastic. One of the main things I want everyone to comment about: all the deaths, all the couples, relationships, whatever. The intensity, for sure. Who you guys thought the killer was in season 1, season 2, and the Halloween special, because I straight up guessed it on all 3 of them. And obviously I didn't know who it was, but I had my suspicions, and then they ended up being right. I was very happy about that. I have already encouraged several people to watch this show. They've all loved it. They have all been grateful that I recommended it. And I definitely think that everybody should go watch this show. It's so good. And there's parent stuff, there's teen stuff, there's relationship stuff, there's intense, oh my god, who's the one killing everybody stuff. And I really like that. I like thriller shows. They're so intense, oh my gosh. And because all of them are on Netflix, you could just binge watch right through it. Just right through it. Might make it hard to remember what happens in which season or what happened in which episode like it does for me. But you'll still have all the information and you will retain most of it. So you should be fine. I think that's it. I feel like there's a lot more we could discuss about the show. But one of the reasons that I picked Eyewitness and Scream to talk about for my first two videos is they're only 1 and 2 seasons long so far, so it wouldn't take a really long video to talk about them, unlike all of my other shows that have like 5 to 10 seasons, and it would take multiple videos to discuss all of it. So that's it, I guess. Please like this video, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more, because I plan on doing a lot more videos like this, just talking about my favorite shows, movies, books, music, whatever. And I really want to hear everybody's opinion, so please comment what you thought of the show and any questions or comments or whatever that you have about it that we can discuss back and forth, because I need more people to discuss this show with, as every show ever. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye. Other favorite thing about part of the show is that it's in a lot of ways it's very similar to Pretty Little Liars, because somebody's sleeping with their teacher and they're constantly jumpy and jittery about their phones going off because they're constantly getting text messages or phone calls. Pretty Little Liars, it's from A. It's from the killer. They have a lot of similarities in that way, and death and all that. This one's a lot more gruesome than Pretty Little Liars because that one's more dramatic, I think. But a lot of similarities in that way, and if you like Pretty Little Liars, I definitely think you'll like Scream. And if you like Scream, go watch Pretty Little Liars. Both are fantastic shows.